Are you live?
We're going live on YouTube, and I just hit record, so we can't go.
Okay. But they're live on YouTube?
Live on YouTube.
All right, what's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? Oh, we got Adler joining, and should be a good time.
Let's have some fun.
You slide over just a little bit this side.
All right, cool.
Okay.
What's today's date?
Today is the 16th.
Of March. Okay. All right. Does the chat have any questions they would like us to ask Lindsey, but serious only? Sometimes you guys may have better ideas than us.
Nice.
It's good to do that, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to. Hey guys, how you doing? If you like talking baseball and talking Yanks, well, get ready for this.
Get ready for the elf.
Just get ready for this. Okay, I'm good to go. Jake, good to go?
Let's get it.
What's the date? 15th?
Let's get it, 16th.
Today is, don't touch me virus, dude.
Yeah.
Come on, you just got corona all over me. God damn it. Today is March 16th, and the Yankees are still not playing any baseball. Neither is anyone else, not even kids outside. So let's do it. Let's get into it. Let's talk Yanks.
Talking Yanks with old John Boy and Jake. Recaps galore and weekly awards, stat lines, steaming hot takes. Your Yankees news with these two fine dudes. It's time for Talking Yanks. Talking Yanks with old John Boy and Jake. Talking Yanks with old John Boy and Jake.
And Lindsey. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Yanks. My name is John Boy, and sitting next to me is my best friend and co-host, Talking Jake.
We're going to have a rad episode today.
Yeah.
Tough opener.
Tough opener. You touched me.
Times are tough.
You gave me the virus.
Times are tough.
If Jake goes down, I will go down, as will big producer Big Baby David, because we are in a 8x8 room.
Trapped in a box.
Trapped in a box, making content.
Everyone be safe.
Everyone else be safe.
Quarantine.
Welcome to Talking Yanks. We are, I don't know, excited is the wrong word. I was going to say we're excited to get going, but things are bad, man.
Yeah.
Baseball's going to get pushed back. You know what is good? We got some new Patreons that are sponsoring the
Thanks,
show.
Patreons.
Russell Schumeyer,
Yes.
Anthony Dyke, Andrew Mendez, and Autumn Sharp. And Autumn was our Talking Baseball as well.
Yeah, Autumn's all over today.
Thank you very much, Autumn. Very pretty name. I like that name.
We're going to be putting out a lot of Patreon stuff. And so if you've been waiting to give $2 a month to two losers during a pandemic, now's the time.
Wow, using coronavirus to get $2.
Now's the time.
Now's the time.
Now's the time.
Jake did an AMA for the Patreon people.
Yeah, and we've been luckily, me and Jimmy have been apart for 2 years, and now that we're together, there's a pandemic that says everyone can't do anything together. So we're going down with the ship, but a lot of Patreon stuff.
As soon as we get into the same room,
Yeah.
the world tells us we're not supposed to
It's
be
not
together.
supposed to be this way.
I was doing Remember Titans.
Oh,
We came together at camp. Cool.
I thought you were doing Brokeback Mountain.
No. Playing Groveton tonight, y'all.
That's a good line.
I love Remember the Titans. Anyway, I don't really have much to add to this. We're gonna get
Yeah.
Lindsey Adler on the phone to gauge what's the mood and the vibe
We'll get
around
Lindsey-
the guys in camp.
We'll get Lindsey on, and then if there's any loose ends we need to touch up, we'll touch up on them. Fair?
Okay. Fair.
That's fair.
All right. We got to call Lindsey
I'm going to call her.
behind the scenes for Patreons.
Hello,
Hello, is this Lindsey Adler?
it is Lindsey Adler
With The Athletic.
with The Athletic. Hold on, let me put on my headphones.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
All right. We are joined by Lindsey Adler of The Athletic. Lindsey, how are you doing personally?
I'm okay.
Ish.
Where you at? Where you at with like society? Are you good?
I'm concerned about the people who were still going to bars in New York City over
Sure.
the weekend, and I guess elsewhere in the country. But I'm concerned for a lot of people, I think.
I'm happy to report to you that Jake didn't go to a bar over the weekend. He just took a picture of a bar that he walked past. I was concerned for him for a second.
It was.
I mean, I wouldn't put,
Don't.
Yeah.
Let's not. Okay.
contracting coronavirus to make Twitter jokes past Jake.
It's early. It's early in the conversation. I walked past Phil Hughes' bar, so I took a picture of it walking my dog. So, let's get this out of the way before you guys start ragging on me again. How's Fisher? Fisher update?
He's kind of being a little bit of an asshole.
Okay.
because
This is a
he's
family
like-
show, so.
Yeah, well, okay. He's sort of being a bit of a butthole because he had a really hard time, like, with me coming and going from spring training, and I think he's just so excited that I'm home now and literally not leaving the house except to take him on walks, that he just, like, thinks that he gets to, control all of my time and decide when I should be giving him attention and when I should be giving him food and what I should be doing. So he's a little bit of a tyrant right now, but he's still cute sometimes.
Has he thought about the fact that like you're going through this as well? Seems like he hasn't.
He really hasn't. I think he's just, it's really sick. It's disgusting. He's definitely happy about the coronavirus, and it's horrible. He
Yeah, sounds a lot like
should go to
Jake.
jail.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly.
And that was Lindsey Adler with The Athletic. Thank you for calling in, Lindsey.
Li-
Okay.
Lindsey, you kind of were, this is a global pandemic, obviously, but this is a Yankees podcast, so I'm going to kind of ask some questions tailored to, spring training in that camp. When did the vibe turn from get serious? Because I know Jake and I both had our day where we were like, oh, crap. For the players, did they take it serious early on, or did they have a switch? Because I know they all voted to stay in Tampa, and now they may not. Like, what was the vibe with the players, and when did it hit them?
I don't know. I knew that I was really concerned about it when I flew back to Tampa last Sunday night. And Monday is when MLB decided to limit who had access to the clubhouse. And so even then I was kind of like, well, I think this could definitely spiral out of control. This could just be the beginning of our worries, but also I was like, okay, this is kind of a weird measure, and I don't think anyone really expected it to get out of hand this quickly. I would say the general kind of panic amongst, people I know, maybe not players, because I didn't really get to talk to them so much in that week. I would say after the NBA suspended its season, that's when, a lot of other writers I knew, even though we had all been kind of seeing this thing coming, that's when it really set in. And then when I was at the minor league complex on Thursday, after the NBA had suspended its season and right before MLB suspended or ended spring training and delayed the season, that I think everyone kind of feels this is coming to an end. Honestly, behind the scenes, everybody knew that MLB was about to bang this thing, but that was really, I would say, the first time I really felt it being super palpable. It just picked up really quickly.
Did you have, and I feel when the NBA dropped that, for any sports fan, that's a wow moment. I think Jimmy tweeted like, I'll remember this for the rest of my life. Have you personally, was there like a surreal moment? Was it, I've heard a couple people mention like leaving spring training, the second week of March and seeing a lot of people also leaving spring training being like, it's over and what's going on, or I don't know. I guess that they put the media behind what, like you guys were fenced off. Was that kind of surreal, or what moment jumps out for you personally?
I mean, things were like mostly fine at the ballpark, after they said that we wouldn't have clubhouse access. Players were super accommodating. PR did a really good job. They're actually kind of used to some of the PR staff is used to coordinating things like that, because early in spring training they have to coordinate things for Yes Network and for the scoreboard and whatnot. So it actually ran a lot more smoothly than I thought. But on Thursday, though I did kind of know that I needed to just try to gather as much material as I could. So I talked with Brett Gardner, and I just talked about baseball. And so later that night, I tweeted like, okay, who wants to read like a non-coronavirus baseball story?
Right.
And then like an hour after that, all of the NBA stuff happened. And I was like, oh my God, how am I supposed to write this? Well, what do I do? And so, I was sitting in my Airbnb and I was trying to write, and I was just watching it play out, first on Twitter and then on ESPN. And I was impressed by the way Ryan Ruocco, our dude, handled it on air. And that's when it really freaked me out. And I couldn't really understand why, because, an NBA player getting a positive diagnosis in Oklahoma doesn't necessarily have anything to do with me sitting, around an MLB team in Florida. But for some reason, that's when I think I kind of realized that it was really going to affect sports and kind of blow things up. But then after the news kind of stopped that night, I realized I had tweeted that I was going to write a baseball story for the morning. So I did it anyway, and then no one read it because no one cared.
The Gardner one, I read it. It was fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you. You're not no one. But.
Oh, okay, great. Hey, Lindsey, the Gobert stuff in the NBA. He tested positive, in the day before, the viral clip of him touching and touching all the recorders and the reporters' recorders. If that was one of your recorders, would you have thrown it in the ocean, burned it, or how scared would you have been? Because I would have been so scared.
I don't know. It was really interesting because at first when I saw it, I was like, okay, what is wrong with this dude? Like, what's the deal here? But then later that night, I saw a bunch of, I saw the writers who cover Gobert, tweeting like he didn't really know he was sick. He was trying to make light of a rough situation for all of us. He was trying to show support. And it's funny because now being on this side of it, having the experience, it does get kind of annoying when something that happens at camp or, happens around a team gets totally misinterpreted publicly. But in retrospect, I probably would have been really concerned about that, but also I just record things on my phone, so I just keep holding them anyway so that I can.
Oh man, you can't throw out your phone.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, so my phone wouldn't have been on the podium or wouldn't have been on the days because, I got to keep it to tweet shit with typos as things are developing or whatever. So.
It's true.
Yeah.
So, does this give you a chance to write a follow-up on the Madden League, since that seems like the players are going to be maybe run another one? Because that was a fantastic article you wrote that I think everyone loved.
I think it's funny because after Brian Hope tweeted that Zach Britton said that was how the players were going to spend their time, a bunch of people who I don't think read the story were like, they need to put this on Twitch. They need to put this on Twitch. And I was like, oh, well, now Tommy Kahnle has like a million freaking allies and trying to get his teammates to stream all of this on Twitch. Right now, I'm trying to figure out a lot of other things. But if we don't have baseball for the next, 2-3 months, however long, like I am hoping that maybe some of the players are like, "Hello, Lindsey.
Yeah.
How are
Yeah.
you?
We-
Would you like to write about our Madden League?"
we have similar hopes.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, and we've got some things in the work, but yeah, I think we're obviously trying to be glass half full over here, and we're hoping that if players aren't playing and they're a little bored, come talk to us. But let's talk a little bit of baseball, because I think that's what we normally like to do. Well, and we'll get to art later, as always.
Okay.
But and I'll put you on the spot a little bit, because me and Jimmy haven't fully flushed this out, but we do our talking baseball stuff, and it's hard trying to touch base with the other 29 teams when we're so locked into the Yankees. But I'll use this as an example. We saw King Felix Hernandez at Braves camp, and he essentially was winning the fifth starter's job, and it was kind of really cool. He was throwing junk, and they had an injury, and he looked good, and it was cool that he was going to be a part of this Braves team, and who knows, maybe he sticks it out, maybe he gets his first playoff appearance, stuff like that. So it's kind of this other side to spring training of guys who were going to get opportunities and make the team. And I guess who on the Yankees really jumps out that baseball-wise, this delay, which, again, everybody, yes, take a step back. We know it's the scope of life. Baseball only matters so much. But, I mean, this could have been an opportunity taken away from somebody, and I'm wondering who jumps out for you when you think of that.
That was really one of the things that kind of came to mind quickly. There's a lot of excitement, obviously, that Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton will have time, to come back from injury. But, I mean, someone like maybe Rosel Herrera or,
Ooh.
now who, as I think Aaron Boone said, like opened some eyes, and he could have served a lot of different purposes. But then I saw him working with Brett Gardner. Obviously, they had him on the infield. Like, it would have been a really cool story, and maybe it still will be, but then if Judge and Stanton come back, which obviously is a net positive for the Yankees, then they have Gardner, Tauchman, Frazier, Andujar, and then Judge and Stanton. And assuming that Stanton is basically posting up in the DH spot, that's 5 outfielders for 3 spots? Something like that. So that actually does kind of make the Clint Andujar situation a little bit more interesting, I think. But the thing is, I don't even know how to project any of this, because one, we don't know when the sport is coming back, and two, I'm really worried that at least in the off season, players know when they're going to need to report to camp, and so they can really set up really firm routines and kind of build up so that they, get to camp prepared. Right now, I don't think anyone knows what to do, and so it's not just that guys are going to come back, or that, guys may get bumped off the roster from guys returning. My fear is that this can lead to a lot of injury risk as well. So I don't even know what the situation is going to look like, but I guess one other thing I forgot to mention is, it looks like James Paxton will be ready for opening day.
Right.
So that kind of changes the, Clark Schmidt, Mike King, Davey Garcia, even David Hale type of fifth starter situation out there. So there's a lot of guys whose lives, and I guess in a sense roster security, just kind of got shaken up.
Yeah. My thing that I keep thinking about, or that I've come to the realization today, is that MLB isn't going to want to operate under this unknown. We're like, hey, we don't know yet, and then immediately be like, okay, we're a week out, and spring it on the guys. Mm-hmm. They're going to want to make a plan, and if it's a long break, which it seems like it's going to be, there's going to have to be like 2 weeks of exhibition games under that plan to get guys back in order, unless it's up to each individual team to do their own spring training stuff, which maybe. But all of that makes me think that they may just be going towards an 81-game season with 2 weeks of a spring beforehand, and it might be easier for them logistically to just right now say, hey, this might be good in a month, but we're not doing it until July, and we're going to use June as spring training, just so they can get the logistics figured out. Because if they keep waiting, eventually they're just going to need to choose a date and map it out from there. And they're going to choose a really safe date. That's kind of where my mind's at. So I think we're in for a long time. I know they just announced officially 8 weeks, so 2 months from now. But I think logistically they're going to have to go a little further than that even. Have you heard any rumors or any rumblings about any of this?
You know, the most funny thing, I think I can say this now, is like, you know, the day that they announced that the day MLB announced that, you know, spring was over and the season was going to be delayed, I was hearing from people, you know, like, oh, they're saying May 1st or May 31st. And I was like, you know, May 1st, that's crazy. And then I was like, May 31st, someone must have misheard that. But that was what I think people were expecting then. And then MLB came out and announced, you know, 2-week delay, which I understand why they needed to start it small. But I just don't think anyone knows what to expect right now. And you're probably right. At some point, I mean, Cashman said that, you know, for, you know, seasons with labor stoppages, it's been like a 2 to 3 week spring training. And I think you're probably right that maybe it's in everybody's best interest. They pick a date, even if it's far out, and then try to kind of build a schedule back from that. Because the guys I keep thinking about are the pitchers, and especially the starting pitchers, because like Garrett Cole and Jay Happ were built up to like 65 pitches each, I think. And so if the season's going to be delayed by 2 weeks, okay, then maybe you work to maintain that. But if the season's now delayed by 2 months, and that seems like a preliminary estimate, then how do you set up a program? You know, like, I don't think it's necessarily in Jay and Garrett or anyone's best interest to try to maintain that workload, you know, not knowing when it's coming. And so I do think that at some point, if they can just kind of set a date and let people know, you know, how to set a program that way, it would be good. But I actually don't have any faith that we can actually project when it will be safe for baseball to come back. So I don't know that that will happen.
Yeah. I think the lucky thing is that they have time. Like they have probably a month to actually see how this plays out more before they set a date, but it's crazy. If it goes to that 81-game season, what Jake and I had a conversation about is that Domingo Germán's suspension will still stand. He'll still have to miss games that other people are playing. So as Yankee fans and Cashman, you can basically just write him out of the entire season if that's true. Like if he's much. Yeah, so like his season just got washed out.
Yep.
What's
Yep.
Oh, sorry. What's
No, go ahead.
What's the along that topic? Because people talk and we're baseball people, and everyone loves doing the kind of the gathered around the coffee station and being like, so what's your idea? Where do you think? Have you heard any good, like, semi-ridiculous ideas or cool ideas that they could on how they could shape this season? I know people are casually dropping, they'll just do a bunch of double headers. And like I heard Girardi on the MLB network, and it's kind of addressing the starting pitching issue. He was like, yeah, I think they should expand the rosters for a year so you can have more pitchers because these guys aren't going to be stretched out. Have you heard any good ideas along those lines, or maybe a ridiculously bad idea? We'd like that too.
I don't know. I mean, one player I talked to today did say that, he thinks that if it does get to a point where there's a bunch of double headers, the teams with a lot of depth are gonna be the ones who are best positioned, which obviously that is the Yankees. But no, I haven't heard anything crazy beyond having like hundreds of like teenage and early 20-year-old boys quarantined in a hotel in Tampa for the next 2 weeks, but nothing. I mean, it's obviously a very serious situation, but I also don't know what professional athletes who are not able to, even really work out are going to do. But back to the schedule, I don't know, because the thing that is so nuts to me is that nothing in baseball at any level happens without basically considering all of the logistics. And it's very clear that even with MLB working around the clock to figure this out, they weren't really able to decide how they were going to handle the schedule before they made the decision to bang the rest of spring and push the season back. I mean, honestly, the craziest thing I've heard at this point is the idea that they would still want to get 162 games in. It can't happen. You can't have that many doubleheaders. You can't push the season that far into the winter. Like, it's the postseason should be, in a sense, the postseason should be the thing to protect, and pushing it that late into the year, I don't think is good. Then it gives you a short off season, and the WBC is supposed to be next spring. So, from my vantage point, the craziest idea is that a season that begins in June or later really can have 162 games at all. Yeah,
it's impossible, especially the players union, spent a lot of time negotiating a lot of those limitations. Like, you can't have more than 20 days with a game in a row. You have to have an off day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a cap on how many doubleheaders you can have in a season. So, they're not going to relinquish those rights because they worked really hard to get them, and the players and the MLBPA are getting kind of screwed on the side of money, because this is messing with everyone's bank account. They are millionaires and all that, but it's still messing with what their allotted money. And then it's going to mess with service time. So the MLBPA is kind of losing stuff, so they're not going to kind of give up ground wherever they are asked to on that. So I think that you're right. Like, the 161 or 162 game season is just not a possibility, especially if we're going 2 months away.
Yeah, and look at the even just the March and April regular season schedule for the Yankees. They see the Orioles and the Rays. Okay, those are easy enough to make up. But then they go to Oakland and Arlington, and I don't know where you fit in a 3-game series against Oakland. Not exactly just a 2-hour Amtrak. And then they go to Arlington, and then they go to Detroit, which I guess they could make up. And then when you go into May, you have Toronto, and then Tampa again, which are easy enough to make up. And then you have Houston, and then they go to Milwaukee, and then to Anaheim. And so they have enough, I think, far trips, and there are CBA rules about about travel time and time zones and things like that, and especially as it pertains to travel days and whatnot, that I just don't know. I don't know how you fit in those Oakland and Arlington and Detroit games if you tried to do something close to a full season and condense it.
Yeah, seems impossible.
It's crazy.
What's going on with the Yankees? Had the first case in baseball of a player testing positive for COVID-19. It's a minor league player at the minor league camp, which is separate from the major league camp. I don't know. Is that crazy? Are people scared now? Do the minor league players scared, or has there been any panic? Were the major league players even aware or around this guy, or you got anything on this story?
Yeah, so minor league camp is busy. There's obviously a lot of players, a lot of staff, a lot of people coming and going. There's support staff, there's clubbies, there's all sorts of people. And the Yankees say that they don't believe that the the player who was diagnosed had any contact with anyone on the major league side. But, if we're talking about, kind of like chain of transmission, yeah, there's no way to ensure that someone who did go to that side and went back to major league camp or vice versa, didn't talk to someone who had talked to this player. I think the Yankees are kind of letting the Florida Department of Health and Hillsborough County take the lead on this. So they've been really in a lot of meetings. They've had the doctor who's advising them, talk with the, I think, major league team, talk with the front office, talk with the player development staff, talk with the minor league players themselves. So, my takeaway from our call with Cashman yesterday was actually that Cashman has a realistic sense of where this thing is going. He knows that, this player was diagnosed. He knows that they have no way of tracking, where he might have picked it up or who it might have spread to. And he knows that as long as other members of the organization are existing as, normal members of society or whatever, pretty much anyone is vulnerable to it. So I think there's just a lot of logistics. Do the minor league players who, well, no one gets paid, or
Yeah.
players do not get paid during spring training. So if these players are under quarantine for 2 weeks, how are they going to, make money in the time before returning to camp? And that's, an issue throughout the league. And then kind of really, what does this mean? And I think the big thing for me is not necessarily what's the deal with this one player who has it now and the Yankees' response to it now, but who is the next player in professional baseball who's going to get it? It's not just going to be this one player. And maybe the Yankees actually did get a little bit, fortunate being able to put together a response to it so quickly. The player didn't show up to the fields that day, anything like that. And so I think this is kind of in a holding pattern, and I think everyone kind of knows that what's really scary is that we don't know what happens next or what the next case will look like. I don't
Yeah.
know if that makes any sense.
No, I mean, it's nothing can be pinpointed. That's the thing. Like they say, this
Yeah.
this kid wasn't anywhere. You don't know. The kid probably went to Chipotle a couple times. He probably went everywhere.
Yeah,
So
maybe. I mean, he didn't feel symptoms until he woke up on Friday, and then, fortunately, Cash said he's no longer feeling symptoms. So it's good that it was a quick recovery, but I think that's also an interesting look at how mild this can present in some people who may be carrying it and spreading it to other people. So, yeah.
What's the number one thing you'll miss from Tampa? Is it Fresh Kitchen Taco Dirty? I know everyone went nuts with that this year. Is there what? You may not be the number one Tampa super fan. I don't know. I don't want to put those words in your mouth, but
she's a pretty big fan of Tampa. Aren't you, Lindsey?
What's the number one thing you'll miss from
enjoy it.
Tampa?
The number one thing I will miss from Tampa.
Baseball?
Loaded. Doesn't count.
Yeah, probably baseball, but let me think.
Thinking.
This may be a weird thing, but the schedule and the ability to exercise. I don't know if any gyms are even open right now, but I was actually in a pretty good routine because this was my third spring training. And, if you treat spring training like it's just an extended road trip, like you would go to, Houston or St. Pete or whatever, then you kind of lose your mind. And so I did a pretty good job of kind of setting it up like I was going to live a normal life. And I felt like I was actually doing spring training right for once and staying kind of sane. And now I am actually home
Yeah, now you have
and
cabin
not really
fever at
allowed to
home.
Go outside. Yeah.
Do you have
I guess the thing I will miss from Tampa is seeing other people.
Yeah, that's good.
Good answer.
Do you have are you okay, so you have a lot of free time, I think, now. You still have a job, but no
Mhm.
games. Is there a
Yep.
Lindsey Adler passion project? Is there going to be a book in the works,
wow.
artistry, some paintings?
I was going to ask the same question, but clearly Jake brain. I was going to be like, what's the dumb thing you're looking forward to? Like, I know a lot of people are looking at Netflix shows they haven't done, but Jimmy went the high route. I stay low.
I'm not writing a book
Yet.
but
Yet.
I don't know what I would write a book about, but
Dogs.
I am
Baseball.
the upside to being home for probably longer than I have been since last off season is that I get to work on a lot of my baking projects. So I started my sourdough starter again, and I'm currently fermenting my second batch of butter, which is actually a very enjoyable project. And my big, kind of my white whale in terms of baking has been croissants and kind of laminated dough and things that they do on baking TV shows all the time, and they make it look kind of easy, but like every time I try it, it's just terrible.
Yeah,
So,
that's tough, Linz.
mhm. Yeah, I don't know why I can't do it correctly. I've watched so many people make it. I've tried multiple recipes. I've tried multiple, techniques or whatever, and I can't get it right.
We'll have everyone flood your Twitter. If you have the recipe for Lindsey, send it her way.
Yeah, if someone can help me actually make croissants, but I also use this as a very flimsy excuse to order a countertop grain mill so that I can mill my own flours with my excuse, which is totally unnecessary. But my excuse to my boyfriend was, okay, well, if I get wheat and rye berries and I knock them over in the pantry, it'll be easier to clean up than when I do it with flour.
Yes.
And also, since the grocery stores have basically been out of flour, I'm like, oh, well, no one buys wheat berries, so I won't suffer from this shortage. And then if I have flour, then I can make bread. And then if I'm, stuck inside for 3 weeks, at least I will have bread and can eat. So it's a very flimsy excuse, but I'm apparently going to be milling my own flour during this quarantine.
I think most cooks choose their food by what's easiest to clean up when they spill it. I think that's fairly normal. I made peanut butter cups the other night. Last night.
Wow.
Yeah, they came out actually really good.
Peanut butter and chocolate.
Did you temper the chocolate?
What's that?
Or did you temper the chocolate?
I don't know what that means, but I put chocolate as the base layer, melted it.
Nice.
Then I mixed the peanut butter with butter and sugar to make it a little fluffier and sweeter. And then I did that as a middle layer, and then I did chocolate as the top layer. 15 minutes in the freezer in between each layer.
Wow.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
They came out really well. I was shocked. Bit into it, and I was like, oh, wow, I made these. So.
I have a recommendation.
Yes.
I know that I recommend Bon Appetit Test Kitchen videos.
I love
all the
Brad.
time.
Yeah.
Yes. Brad is great, and actually his producer is a huge Yankees fan. Shout out Matt Hunziker. But
Need to get on that.
Yeah. Claire Saffett does gourmet makes where she basically tries to reverse engineer a bunch of junk food.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of those. They're so long. I feel so bad for her.
They're so long, but it's so crazy, and it also makes me never want to eat like processed junk food again, seeing how impossible it is to make with like real human ingredients. So that's my recommendation.
Which Yankee player do you think would appreciate your cooking the most?
Garrett Cole and his wife are big into cooking. I found out that Tony Vick, a pitcher who was a non-roster invite, has a farm in Illinois, so I feel like in terms of making my own butter and milling my own flour, we would at least be kind of simpatico on that. I don't think I'm a great cook, and I'm a vegetarian, so it probably doesn't appeal to many major league players, but I know that Garrett Cole and his wife are really into food. They're food people.
So I basically just went full Leo Mazzoni and just started rocking the whole time because I didn't have much to add to that, and that's fine, and that was delightful. Do you have any tips for my girlfriend who is excited to go check out the museums and restaurants of New York City as we just moved here, and now she's trapped in a box with me and she doesn't really like me?
I would say she should take up baking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
We're all doing it.
Yeah.
Just watch some TV that you refuse to watch with her so that she can get personal space.
Yeah. No, there's been a lot of baking in our apartment with no cooking going on, so that's what we've been up to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like everyone I know, especially given that, like, when I went to the grocery store, it was like pasta and bread were gone. Like, I feel like everyone I know was on a carb-only diet moving forward. So
It's a weird
we're all in this together.
the weird societal thing is like we're all prepped to have cabin fever for the next 8 months, but everyone's already started like snacking and eating and surviving, which it's really a bizarre case study.
Yeah, I don't know how to grocery shop for, in case I'm inside for 3 weeks. I
Right.
have no idea.
I
Which
mean,
is why I just keep,
I haven't even, like, I asked my girlfriend, like, hey, how are we on toilet paper? And she was like, every bodega on every corner has a ton, so it doesn't matter. So I don't know where people are living. I guess New York City is a whole different animal, but not worried about that. Anyway.
Oh, best coronavirus tweet that's made you laugh. That's my last question.
the one from, like, before it got bad where someone said he was pronouncing quarantine like fettuccine.
Oh yeah, Quarantini.
Yeah, quarantini.
Nice.
Hi, Fisher.
That's pretty good.
That
Someone
was me. Yeah, quarantini.
The one that got me was someone was like, "Hey, why don't we all just keep buying toilet paper at our normal rations? Like, we'll be good."
Yeah, when I went to the grocery store yesterday, like, the stuff that they were sold out of, like, why are people loading up on sriracha? Things like that, or things that are, like, very perishable. Like,
Maybe sriracha
So-
makes them go to the bathroom, and that's how they're, reasoning buying all the toilet paper. It's reverse engineering the system there.
they need to justify all of the toilet paper
Yes,
that they
yes.
poured into you made.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
We have one last question. It comes from a Patreon. They want to know your favorite pizza slice.
Ooh.
My favorite pizza place. Oh, hell yeah. I'm so ready for this. Scar's Pizza on the Lower East Side. That is my current favorite pizza place in New York. My sadness is that last year, Two Boots, which was my favorite other, kind of fast casual pizza place, went under because of tax evasion. So
Oof, that'll get you.
Tough.
So shout out Scar's Pizza. It's really good and it's really cool. And it has like an 80s sports vibe. So yeah.
Okay. But what's your slice? Is it just regular cheese?
Oh, yeah, just regular cheese.
Yeah,
I mean,
smart.
I don't eat meat and like most vegetarian pizzas.
So you're from Tracy, and
Mhm.
pizza in the West Coast, especially Tracy, Livermore area, is basically fast food pizza or bust. So when you moved to, are you firm New York has better pizza than California?
Oh my God.
Yes. Well, I'm very much pro regional food specialties. So
Yeah.
I don't eat avocados outside of California, and I don't eat pizza and bagels in California. And I think it is fine to think that not every place has to be great at everything. So yeah.
That is what I've been saying, because you and I have both lived both places. Like, you don't get tri-tip. I miss tri-tip, sourdough bread, and good Mexican breakfast burritos. But when I'm in California, I won't even touch a bagel. Like, won't even touch one. And pizza's pretty brutal as well, unless you dress it up with a million different things. You know what else you can't find here that I can't find here is artichokes.
Yeah.
We're
people are
really
not
struggling
very
finding.
artichoke heavy.
Yeah, no, we're really struggling because Caitlin and I like a good artichoke with steak. Can't find any. You can find them; they're just bad.
Yeah, that's my issue. Is that there's a lot of bad produce here. I'm very California snobbish about produce, so I am actually very relieved to hear that you feel the same way.
No, we are aligning on all of these. We are very snobby with our produce, and you can't find good produce here at all. It's a bummer.
Fantastic.
Cool.
That's
all right.
That's where we always land with Lindsey Adler, toilet paper, sriracha, and baking. Go pick up her book. Actually, don't. Well, she doesn't have a book, and don't go outside. So don't go get her fake book. Lindsey, thank you. Anything else?
Please support local and independent businesses in any way that you can at this time. Buying gift cards that you can use later when it's safer to go outside is a great way to do so. I understand that Amazon is very appealing because it will bring things to you, but please support your community. Okay, that's my soapbox.
Yeah. Well, no. Are we considered a local business, local and small business to you? Because I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Great. So support John Boy Media. Appreciate you.
Go
Support John Boy and Jake.
buy a Barnes & Noble gift card to buy Lindsey Adler's future book she's writing.
Eventually.
Yeah, that's the takeaway.
Self-promotion much, but.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Linz.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye. Okay.
Who
We
was
did it.
that?
She writes articles.
Lindsay's the best.
Big fan.
Tweeted her. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Sourdough. What'd she buy? A flour maker? What year is it?
Yeah, she's making flour, but she didn't want all the flour to spill on her floor because
Right.
it's dusty.
Sure.
So she bought wheat. So when you can sweep that up easier, she's making wheat flour.
That's awesome.
That's really
It's
good reasoning.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Tweeted Lindsay. Thank her so much. I don't know. Any thoughts or comments on that, or pretty much good?
Good. Yeah, good. I mean, it's weird times. I think, kind of talked our way through like the season. Baseball wise, I kind of laid out what I think with her is like they're gonna have to push this so far back because they're gonna have to prep people. We have to do spring again before we start the
Right.
season, and you can't just May 25th be like, I think it's 2 more weeks. Everyone start
Right.
throwing, and then they stop throwing. So I've come to the firm realization, in my opinion at least, that
Right.
they are going to take a date, I think by the All-Star break. Say season starts here, 2 weeks before it's spring training, and we're not doing anything before that, anything you do that for on your own. And when we get to that point, if we're still not good, we'll do this again. But if we're clear before that, doesn't matter because this is what it is.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I mean, I think there are some workarounds. I think of note in that conversation was Brian Cashman saying that in lockout years they had a 2 to 3 week spring training. So you got to anticipate that.
That's what I'm thinking.
From
2 to
whenever
3
they
weeks.
can play
Yeah.
baseball. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think Corona's really just starting to get to Florida, and Florida people have their reputation. I won't dive into that, but there's been some shots of people still very much interacting. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes in the next few weeks. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, if players are kind of quarantined and they can get those 2 to 3 weeks in, I mean, we're both firmly on that the first games will be played in empty stadiums for sure.
For sure.
So I don't know if you're taking that out of the equation, I think there is some wiggle room to sneak towards the middle of May, but I mean, everyone's just guessing and reaching, and maybe I'm just too blindly optimistic because I missed the damn game, John Boy.
I can sense you not wanting to believe that just because you're a sports guy.
I mean, I'm a sports guy, but I also, and Lindsay also said this, like, nobody really knows. Nobody really knows. We're all just guessing and reaching at stars, and we're all looking at our different tweets and articles and praying. You're a plan for the worst, and get excited for the best.
Yeah, but I'm not just guessing. Like, I'm trying to think about it as logically as I can.
Right. And, yeah, I don't know. What's 8 weeks? 8 weeks is middle of May.
8 weeks is middle of May, so then add 2 more weeks to that if they do spring training
Right.
starting then.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, and I think that is still the
Yeah, I mean 8 weeks could be the peak of bad. So I'm not saying I believe in that, but also what if 2 weeks is the peak and then another 4 weeks after that things have calmed down a little bit? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm just a hopeful little girl who misses sports, but
yeah. All right. Well, in the meantime, if you're craving more content or anything
Yeah.
from us, if you just listen to Talking Yanks, we do have Talking Baseball that we will try to have interviews with
Yeah.
writers and players and anyone we can get to hop on the phone with us for both shows. We're going to watch old games and put our commentary over them on the YouTube channels. We have some card games with players being released.
I have something nice to say.
Watching baggage, watching TV shows. Like, we're trying to put out as much content as we can in this time.
How about a thank you to the listeners for the fact that, A, where we are today, and we've done that enough, but a genuine thank you because today, on a day that's pretty tough for covering baseball and sports, we were able to call up a friend of ours from The Athletic to have a good conversation with us because of you guys, pretty much.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone.
Always appreciate it. Thank you. Check out everything else we're doing if you are craving content. Otherwise, just stick around for more Talking Yanks. We are continuing the player profile and projections because we recorded all of them. They're all recorded. They're all edited. They're all scheduled out. So enjoy those, even though they're kind of moot. But if it's not a full season, but whatever, enjoy it. That's all from us. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Go Yanks. Tell them, Grams.
Go Yankees.
Boom. All right. Mr. Pizza Face says, I should become a Patreon for Talking Baseball. Not that I care about anyone besides Yankees and who they're playing. I do like y'all. Well, thank you, Mr. Pizza Face. Thanks for the distraction from the chaos, says Zach's Card Breaks. Appreciate ya.
Always.
KP Watershed says, thanks for the instant reaction and interview. Appreciate you guys putting out more content during this time. Peace out. Ted Alley says, do you guys ever stop looking beautiful? Answers that yes. I got a dumb haircut right now. I hate it.
You always say that. You've gone like Luke on me with that.
No. I never really hate my haircuts. I like a couple.
Right.
I've showed you what she did. I have to gel my hair even when I wear a hat because if it falls on this side, it looks like a toupee. I don't know if it's too dark, but see how it's like.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I can't allow that in public. Look at it. I showed Katie, and Katie was like, "Yeah, that looks fucking weird."
It's a little weird.
They didn't blend in.
It's
the
made
side.
to be done up.
It should
Yeah.
look like this side.
You're made to be done up.
I know. I don't like that because now I'm constantly moving my hand like
You're
this.
a swagger hound. You're like Luke.
No, Luke's hair looks so good. Did you see him today?
No.
Oh, he FaceTimed. It was right before our.
Whoa.
Whoa. It was Luke FaceTimed me, and his hair looked great.
So does yours?
If the clubhouse are shut down to media, how do you think it'll affect the media, and do you think they'll reopen in the future? Ooh, I don't know. Do you guys think this year's World Series champ will be viewed as less legitimate? I was on The Fan with Evan Roberts, and I asked him that.
Yeah.
I said, we've had truncated seasons in other sports. I forget what year it was for the NBA. Does anyone say that title is bad? And he said, no one says the Spurs didn't deserve the winning of the thing, but they do say the Knicks wouldn't have been an 8 seed or 7 seed or whatever.
Yes.
If it wasn't a truncated season.
Yeah, you have it's always blips on, I don't want to say blips on the radar, but like the one in baseball that gets mentioned is the Expos. They say if that Expos team, didn't get canceled on the rest of that season.
In 1994, yeah.
That, Pedro Martinez, Randy Johnson, like that team could have, that was their chance to win a World Series, and you start doing domino effects after that. That's, if they win a World Series in Montreal, do they become more beloved? Do they stay? And it's, I think there's things like that. I don't think you fully take away from the champion because as long as you still have the full playoff format, I mean, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. I agree. KP says, if you could put any Yankees player in Bauer's Sandlot game, who would you send? My answer is easy to guess, but I think also a good one is Tanaka. Because a lot of the guys, we get their personality.
Sure.
We can kind of guess how they'd be.
Yeah.
Tanaka in like that different setting in street clothes playing wiffle ball, I'd be interested to see how loosey-goosey and silly he can get during that.
Okay. I like that. I might, I think this might be a generic one, but maybe just Canely. Just let him go nuts.
That's another
Just let him
total
off. Just let him off the leash.
He's never been leashed. Opposite side. The only thing that was leashing him was his weight.
The Yanks leash him a little bit.
The Red Bulls. A little. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Guys.
Ooh, I'm tired.
Happy Honda days.
See ya Thursday night. I
You'll
guess
see
we'll do
us.
voicemails. Unless we get any interviews. All right. See you later.